Of course, you can see him on First Things First, or you can watch him battle me on Twitter. Let me start with the Cleveland Browns. In watching Hard Knocks last night, I said, look, Tyrod's better. Tyrod was better, far better, even in the first preseason game as Baker played well. Tyrod essentially pitched a perfect game in the short time which we saw him on the field. But I got to think that because he's the number one overall pick, that he's going to play at some point in time this season. And I actually think that's to the detriment of the culture they're trying to change in Cleveland. What say you, Nick, Wright?
I think that you just got to look to the history of the guy who picked him in John Dorsey to see that he might not play soon, if at all, this year. In the last decade, there's only been one first-round quarterback to not play at all. That was Aaron Rodgers, picked, of course, by John Dorsey. In this decade, the quarterback who came the closest, other than Aaron Rodgers, to not playing at all was Pat Mahomes last year with the Chiefs, who didn't play until Week 17. He was, of course, picked by John Dorsey, and what John Dorsey was running the team. And now you have Baker Mayfield, picked by John Dorsey running the football team. I think that he's been patient in the past. His history says that, and I think they keep saying Tyrod was one of 12 quarterbacks to lead a team to the playoffs last year. There's a reason they are bringing that up so often. I think in Cleveland, they look at the team Tyrod led to the playoffs in Buffalo and say, hey, is our number one receiver better than the one they had in Buffalo? Is Njoku better than Charles Clay, their big tight end? Is Myles Garrett better than any pass rusher they had? Like Joy's Miami Dolphins went 1-15, I think, to 11-5 once. Why can't we be in the playoff picture, even if it's just in the little corner of the screen in November? I think Tyrod's going to start at least the first 8 games of the year, and unless the team's 2-6 or worse, he will continue to start because they have to start learning how to win games in Cleveland. And Tyrod, he's showing up first. He's been the best guy on and off the field. He's giving them no exit ramps for their plan. So I actually believe the Browns that Tyrod Taylor is going to be the starter to begin the season and even at the midway point of the season.
Listen, I hope you're right because I think that's the right decision, and I agree with you on the past. What's past is precedent, right? With John Dorsey, the difference is the pressure to play a number one overall pick, especially when all of the rest of the kids will be playing, will be immense. All right, speaking of a guy who I thought should have gone number one overall, there's now a lot of pressure to start Sam Darnold right away with the New York Jets. You live there in the tri-state area. You know, with all the talk, you've seen the preseason game. And, of course, the things we haven't seen, we've heard the 11-on-11 stuff against the Redskins was outstanding. What do you think the Jets should do with Sam Darnold?
Yeah, I think this is a different situation. I don't think Josh McCown is as good as Tyrod Taylor. And while I'm rooting for Teddy Bridgewater, there's a reason they only had to guarantee $500,000 to him. Additionally, I think Sam Darnold, while his ceiling is not the highest of the 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round, I think his floor might be the highest, and he is the surest thing. He's the guy I advocated the Browns should take number 1, even though I didn't think he was the best quarterback in the draft, just because I thought his bust potential was the lowest. I think Darnold should start week 1, and I think Darnold will start week 1.
All right, you love the Houston Rockets almost as much as you love LeBron James. Almost.
Here we go.
You love.
Sure.
Are the Rockets a better team with Carmelo Anthony?
Well, so are they better than they were in the Western Conference Finals? No. But are they better today than they were 96 hours ago? Of course they are. Like, at Carmelo, we swing too far in directions on these things. There was a period of time recently, last couple years in New York, when Carmelo was overrated by the general NBA population. He's now become underrated by the general NBA population. And before they signed Carmelo Anthony, their options for starting, forget off the bench, for starting forward in Houston opposite P.J. Tucker were Gerald Green, James Ennis, Ryan Anderson. So, like, of course Carmelo is an addition. Oh, he can't play any defense. Well, Melo was a part of the third best 5-man defensive unit in the NBA last year, not because he was good defensively, but because Roberson was there, Steven Adams was there, Paul George was there. Why is that relevant? If you have Clint Capella, P.J. Tucker, and Chris Paul on the court, you're going to have an outstanding defense. Like, I think Melo also, I think last year was a humbling experience for him. And if there's anyone that can meet him eye to eye and tell him to cut the bleep at times, it's Chris Paul. If he just wanted to get 18 shots a game and play with a close friend, he could have signed in Miami. Instead, he chose Houston, and Houston chose him. Now, the Warriors got far better this offseason, while Chris Paul got a year older and the Rockets lost Trevor Ariza. So they haven't closed the gap on Golden State. Golden State has extended the gap, but Carmelo Anthony helps them.
No, listen, I think theoretically he should help them. If he buys into the idea of, hey, sometimes I'm going to play with the bench unit and get my shots there. The issue becomes in key moments. You can have one Carmelo Anthony that maybe can't guard anybody, although that proved to not work in the playoffs against the Jazz. But to have James Harden and Carmelo Anthony, two non-defenders on the floor, that becomes problematic. I think what I would say was, and you tell me if you agree with this, I think Oklahoma City has closed the gap more on the Rockets and the Warriors. I don't think they necessarily caught the Warriors, but I think Oklahoma City, by essentially standing pat, by going out and getting a borderline starting point guard to be the backup bench point guard in Dennis Schroeder with the Thunder, and losing Melo, getting Robertson back if healthy, I think Oklahoma City has taken a dramatic step closer to the big two in the West, whereas Houston has come back down to earth because they lose that defensive tenacity.
I agree with that, but I think what happened, the only part I disagree with is I think what happened in the playoffs wasn't that Melo's defense fell apart. It's that they didn't have Robertson. And once he went out, their defense fell apart, and Melo was offensively bad on the offensive end of the floor in that 6-game series against Utah. He was really, really bad. He was arguably the worst high-volume shooter in the NBA during the playoffs. But listen, you and I agree on most NBA things, except when you're talking LeBron James, and I think at last check you had him as a poor man Stacey King. So, we're always going to disagree on that front, but on everything else, we see eye to eye quite often about the NBA.
All right, look, I never called him Stacey King because Stacey King waved the towel way better than LeBron James ever did. Listen, I'm gonna leave you this. Can we bring up that picture that they showed on First Things First? There was a photo that you guys
prefer
used,
not.
and I know that this is also radio as well as TV, but I don't know whether
this is better for the radio audience.
Did you go to Wright? Did you spend some time in Rikers when you took this picture?
People are amazingly saying all of a sudden I have some previously missing street cred just from the existence of this photograph. This is from just 2 months ago. Right before my wife and I went to Belize, I shaved my whole beard before the trip, and as just to make Chris laugh, right as I was shaving, you can see from the stains on my shirt, as I'm shaving, I left the mustache, sent Chris a picture. He betrayed me and sent it to the staff. We made it on television today, and now it's made it on a second television show today, which I really greatly appreciate. Thanks for that, Doug. Good looking out, brother.
That's not the look.
Yeah, well, listen.
That's not a good look, Joy Taylor?
That's not the look.
If for any reason, Nick, the TV show and all this success, if it all goes away, character actor on a prison show, I think...
You were saying that. They showed Andrew Luck with the mustache, which is how this came up.
Yes.
And Andrew Luck looked like a detective in the show Narcos.
Yes.
I kind of look like the guy he's detecting. I feel like I look like the guy he's going after. I think it could work for me. I'm considering. Let me ask you guys both this. We'll leave it at this.
Yes.
If I came to work tomorrow.
Yes.
With just the mustache.
Yes.
And I said to the execs at Fox, "This is my new look." Is that a fireable offense?
No, I don't think that works anymore. Just in today's climate, is Danielle letting you get away with that?
Yeah, no. It was a one time thing. Look, I'll say this: if you went to Belize with this, there's no question that when the cop walked by with the German Shepherd, you got at least one, if not two, sniffs from that German Shepherd.
Come on, that's not nice. No. I didn't go anywhere with that. It didn't even make it out of the bathroom, but now it's made it for 6 minutes on national television, which is just delightful. I'm sure people on Twitter will be so nice to me about this.
It should be your avatar on Twitter. Thanks so much, Nick. Nick Wright, First Things First. Check it out every morning right here on Fox Sports 1.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.